Think you know American history? Think again. From presidents who barely had a phone number, to goats running for mayor, to nuclear bombs almost detonated on the moon, these aren't jokes. They're real. What you're about to hear sounds fake, but every single story actually happened. Stay till the end, because the last one is the strangest of all. Let's start with presidential perks. In the late 1870s, President Rutherford B. Hayes became the first U.S. president to use a telephone. His phone number? Well, when someone asked, he allegedly joked that there were only 2 phones in existence, and he owned one. Talk about elite access. Speaking of leaders, George Washington once considered establishing a monarchy-style government to maintain order. He ultimately rejected the idea, but it's wild to think America narrowly avoided having a king. On the other end of the political spectrum, in the late 1940s, residents of a Nebraska town tried to elect a goat as mayor. The goat didn't win, but it received hundreds of write-in votes, proving that protest voting isn't a new thing. And get this, a 19th century politician won office by promising to do absolutely nothing. Voters apparently loved the honesty. He probably would have gotten along with Calvin Coolidge, who ran for president in 1924 with the simple, catchy, and effective slogan, "Keep cool with Coolidge." He won. American ingenuity has always been interesting. Take the U.S. Postal Service. In 1959, they experimented with rocket mail. A missile carrying thousands of letters was launched successfully, but the idea was scrapped. Turns out rockets weren't exactly reliable for your daily delivery. Even crazier? In the early 1900s, parents mailed their babies through the Postal Service because it was cheaper than a train ticket. The post office had to officially ban mailing children in 1915. And if you think that's wild, in 1898, a dentist invented the first chewing gum vending machine. People gathered just to watch it work, even if they didn't buy any gum. Let's talk about some bizarre ideas that almost became reality. During the Cold War, the U.S. Air Force seriously considered detonating a nuclear bomb on the moon just to scare the Soviets. Thankfully, the plan was abandoned. But back in the 1970s, officials had another lunar idea: painting the moon red so astronauts could locate it more easily during night missions. The moon was spared from becoming a giant space traffic signal. Speaking of things that almost happened, Texas could have been 5 different states. When it applied for statehood in 1845, lawmakers actually debated splitting it up. They decided to keep it whole and enormous. And it wasn't just states. People got creative with names, too. During World War I, to avoid anything sounding too German, Americans patriotically renamed German measles to Liberty measles. Now for some truly strange trends. In the 1920s, American college students competed in a disturbing challenge: swallowing live goldfish. It was the viral trend of its era, long before social media. And what were they learning in school? Maybe not what you think. In the 1800s, people widely believed that tomatoes could cure nearly every illness imaginable. Doctors even sold tomato pills, which were basically dried tomato paste. Even stranger, some believed powdered Egyptian mummies could heal illnesses. The product, called mumia, was sold as medicine until people realized how deeply disturbing that was. Some historical firsts are just plain weird. America's first recorded car crash happened in Ohio in 1891. 2 vehicles collided at about 10 miles per hour. No one was hurt, but the argument afterward reportedly lasted for hours. The first U.S. penny, minted in 1793, showed Lady Liberty with wild flowing hair. Critics mocked her, saying she looked shocked, so the design was quickly changed. Even voting rights had a unique start. In 1893, Colorado held a public vote to allow women to vote, and it passed. This made Colorado the first state to grant women full voting rights, decades before the 19th Amendment. Let's dive into some local history. In 1930, the town of Shamrock, Texas, tried to convince Congress to make St. Patrick's Day a national holiday. The request failed, but the town still throws a massive celebration every year. A few years earlier, in 1922, an Indiana town celebrated a massive 600-pound cheese wheel with a full parade. The cheese was so heavy it had to be pulled by horses. That's some serious small-town pride. And in Denver in 1903, a stray dog was adopted as the city's official mascot, receiving free meals and even a reserved seat on streetcars. American history is filled with strange conflicts. In the 1960s, a trade dispute over chicken exports sparked the Chicken War. The U.S. retaliated against Europe by taxing imported vehicles, a policy that still affects car prices today. Before that, in the 19th century, Wisconsin saw violent clashes between loggers and activists in what became known as the Logger Wars. Vigilante groups sabotaged camps, stole tools, and even sank logging equipment. But my favorite might be the time Civil War veterans tried to invade Canada in 1866. Their plan was to capture territory and trade it to Britain for Irish independence. The mission failed almost immediately. Now, let's get into some truly bizarre inventions and experiments. In 1855, an inventor created a steam-powered rocking baby cradle. Parents wisely decided that steam engines and infants just don't mix. Fast forward to the 1930s, and the Army was testing helium-filled tanks that could float. Unfortunately, they popped way too easily. The U.S. government also once tested Nike sneakers by firing them from cannons to study crash impact on footwear. Science is a weird and wonderful thing. And in 1946, a man patented a personal submarine shaped like a bathtub. It technically worked, but no one really wanted to bathe underwater with sharks. Let's not forget the arts. In the 1860s, a short-lived New York club held bizarre performances where members dressed as animals and farm equipment. They were challenging reality and laying the early groundwork for surrealist art. Decades later, President Theodore Roosevelt inspired the teddy bear after he refused to shoot a captured bear cub on a hunting trip. The toy became an instant hit. But not all art was celebrated. In 1894, U.S. law banned indecent items from the mail, which included illustrations of dancing skeletons. Apparently, even bones having fun were too scandalous. Some historical moments were just pure chaos. The 1904 Olympic Marathon in St. Louis was a disaster. One runner hitched a ride in a car, another was chased by dogs, and the winner nearly died after consuming a mix of brandy and rat poison meant to boost his energy. Speaking of exhaustion, in 1895, politician William Jennings Bryan delivered a speech so long, over 30,000 words, that people in the audience actually fainted. Public speaking clearly had no time limits back then. Sometimes, history is just plain weird. Like when a Kansas farmer shocked scientists in 1938 by discovering fossilized shark teeth on his land, proving the Midwest was once underwater. Or when the U.S. military built Fort Jefferson on a remote island in the Florida Keys. Its isolation earned it the nickname, the loneliest fort in America. Or the fact that Iowa once required riverboats to blow their whistles at night to reassure townspeople they weren't tea pirates. River piracy was a very real fear back then. And now for the story I promised at the beginning. One of the strangest and most disturbing events in American history. In 1916, a circus elephant named Mary killed her handler in a small Tennessee town. The townspeople demanded justice. What happened next is almost unbelievable. They decided to execute the elephant. After a failed attempt to shoot her, they brought in a 100-ton crane and publicly hanged her in front of a crowd of over 2,000 people. It's a dark, bizarre, and tragic moment that shows just how different the past really was. From mailing babies to executing elephants, American history is packed with stories that sound completely made up. It just goes to show, the truth is often stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed this journey into the weird side of history, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable stories. Thanks for watching.